My name is Leo. I am a 32-year-old remote quality assurance engineer. My entire professional life is built around finding flaws in systems, documenting deviations, and ensuring that rules are followed to the letter. I like order, predictability, and clean data. Naturally, this meticulous nature extends to my personal life. 2 years ago, I moved into a beautifully renovated, mid-rise apartment building in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. The building has a modern lobby where couriers, Amazon, FedEx, DHL, leave deliveries on a designated set of oak shelves. For the first year, the system worked flawlessly on a foundation of mutual trust. Then, Derek moved into apartment 1B on the first floor, directly adjacent to the lobby. Derek was a 24-year-old self-proclaimed day trader and lifestyle influencer. He was loud, wore oversized designer hoodies, drove a leased sports car with a modified exhaust, and treated the common areas of our building like his personal stage. He regularly left his trash bags outside his door in the hallway, played bass-heavy music at 2 a.m., and walked through the lobby with a smug, untouchable grin. Shortly after Derek arrived, the lobby's peaceful ecosystem collapsed. It started with small things. A neighbor noticed a package of organic dog food went missing. A few days later, another tenant reported a box of specialty kitchen knives had vanished. I didn't think much of it until my own deliveries began to disappear. First, it was a high-end mechanical keyboard I had ordered for my home office, a $180 custom deck. The tracking app said delivered to lobby, but when I went downstairs 10 minutes later, the shelves were bare. A week later, a box of premium single-origin coffee beans vanished. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. I had ordered a rare, out-of-print reference manual on software architecture. It wasn't incredibly expensive, but it was highly specialized and took 3 weeks to source. My phone buzzed with the delivery notification. I paused my work, walked down the stairs, and stepped into the lobby. The shelves were empty, but as I turned to head back to the elevator, I noticed Derek's apartment door was slightly ajar. He was standing in his kitchen, laughing loudly on a phone call. On his kitchen island, sitting right next to a pile of discarded cardboard, was a thick, distinctive book mailer. The shipping label had been aggressively torn off, but the unique blue and white striped packaging tape of the specialized bookstore was unmistakable. It was my book. I knocked firmly on his open door. Derek turned around, his phone still to his ear. He looked at me with immediate annoyance, murmured "hold on" to his caller, and walked to the doorway, blocking my view of the kitchen. "Can I help you, man?" he asked, crossing his arms. "Hi, Derek. I'm Leo from 3C," I said, keeping my voice level. "My package, a software architecture book, was just delivered to the lobby shelves 10 minutes ago, and it's gone. I couldn't help but notice you have the exact same specialized packaging on your kitchen island." Derek's face didn't register even a flicker of guilt. Instead, a slow, incredibly condescending smirk spread across his face. "Oh, that? Nah, bro. That's mine. I ordered a ton of stuff. Everything on that island is my property. Derek, that book is a highly specific technical manual. It's not something you casually order," I pressed, pointing toward the kitchen. "If you just let me look at the cover, we can clear this up." Derek took a step forward, his chest puffed out. "Are you calling me a thief, QA boy? Let me tell you how this works. There are no security cameras in the lobby. The building association won't pay for them. So unless you have a high-definition video of me physically touching your box, you have zero proof. No name, no claim. That's lobby rules, bro. Now get away from my door before I call the landlord for harassment." He slammed the heavy wooden door in my face. I stood in the carpeted hallway, the sound of the slam echoing in my ears. I felt the hot spike of anger, but my QA training quickly overrode it. Anger leads to sloppy execution. I needed a systematic, foolproof solution. Derek was right about one thing. The building lacked security cameras, and the property management was too slow to act. There was no digital paper trail. If I wanted to catch him, I couldn't rely on the landlord or the police. I had to create a physical, undeniable trail of evidence that would expose him not just to me, but to every single resident in our building. I needed to build a trap, but it couldn't be dangerous and it couldn't violate any laws. It had to be entirely non-toxic, food-safe, and self-contained. I returned to my apartment, opened my digital ledger, and began designing the ultimate package audit. Derek loved high-end, heavy boxes. He was greedy, and he opened his stolen loot immediately in his entryway. I was going to send him a package he would never be able to hide. To defeat a thief who hides behind a lack of camera evidence, you must make the evidence impossible to wash away. I sat at my desk and sketched out the physical constraints of the trap. It had to look like a highly desirable, expensive piece of tech, perhaps a premium gaming router or a designer virtual reality headset. The weight had to feel authentic. But most importantly, the trigger mechanism had to be completely mechanical, simple, and 100% reliable upon opening. I visited a local crafts and baking supply store to gather my non-toxic, food-safe, yet incredibly stubborn materials. The Matrix Organic Binder, I bought 2 large jars of light corn syrup and a bottle of vegetable glycerin. When mixed, they create an incredibly viscous, clear, sticky gel. It is completely water-soluble, so it won't cause permanent property damage, but it is highly hydrophobic in the short term, meaning trying to wipe it off with a dry towel only smears it further, requiring deep scrubbing with warm, soapy water. The marker, Micro Glitter, I purchased 3 jars of ultra-fine, metallic holographic cosmetic glitter in Nebula Purple and Galactic Silver. This isn't standard craft glitter. Cosmetic micro glitter is measured in microns. It behaves almost like a static charge powder. It clings to skin, fabrics, hair, and furniture, reflecting light with extreme intensity. The trigger, the slingshot, I bought a heavy-duty, spring-loaded cardboard mailing tube and 2 high-tension tension bands. Back in my workshop, I began assembling the Decoy. I took an empty, high-quality shipping box from a well-known premium electronics brand. Inside, I secured the heavy mailing tube horizontally, anchoring it firmly to the bottom of the box with industrial-strength double-sided tape. Inside the tube, I placed a custom-fitted cardboard piston connected to the high-tension bands. I pulled the piston back, locking it into a simple mechanical release notch that was physically wired to the box's top overlapping flaps. Next, I prepared the payload. In a mixing bowl, I combined the corn syrup, glycerin, and the entire supply of the metallic microglitter. The result was a thick, shimmering, cosmic purple paste that looked like liquefied stardust. It was beautiful, completely non-toxic, and utterly nightmarish to touch. I loaded this sticky, glittering substance directly into the pressurized chamber in front of the compressed piston. The physics were beautifully simple. When the box was closed, the spring was under tension. The moment someone sliced the packaging tape and pulled the top flaps outward, the physical movement of the cardboard would pull the release wire. The piston would snap forward instantly, using kinetic energy to violently eject the sticky, glittery mass upward and outward in a wide, 60-degree cone. To make the bait irresistible, I printed a highly realistic, professional shipping label on my thermal printer. I addressed it to myself, Leo, in Apt 3C, but I made sure the sender field read, Polyphony Digital, Sony PlayStation Developer Division. I taped the box shut with authentic, heavy-duty fiber reinforced packing tape. I shook it gently. The weight was perfect, around 2.4 kilograms, mimicking the exact feel of a premium console accessory. On Thursday afternoon, at exactly 2:15 p.m., I saw the DHL delivery truck pull up outside the building. I waited 3 minutes, then walked down to the lobby. The courier had just left a neat stack of packages on the oak shelves. I calmly walked over, slipped my customized Decoy box right in the center of the middle shelf, ensuring the Sony PlayStation shipping label was facing outward, catching the light perfectly. Then, I returned to my apartment, made a cup of coffee, opened my laptop, and began a quiet countdown. According to my data on Derek's habits, he checked the lobby shelves every afternoon between 2:30 p.m. and 3 p.m., right after waking up from his trading sessions. The bait was set. The system was live. Now, we waited for the glitch in Derek's code to run its course. At exactly 2:42 p.m., I heard the heavy, distinctive click of Derek's door opening down on the first floor. I stood by my apartment door, which I had left slightly cracked, listening to the echoing acoustics of our building's central stairwell. A moment later, I heard his muffled, arrogant voice. "Oh, sweet. No way." Then, the rapid, heavy footsteps of a man trying to look casual while carrying a heavy, stolen prize back to his cave. The heavy wooden door of apartment 1B slammed shut with a definitive thud. I checked my watch. 2:43 p.m. Based on my analysis of Derek's impulsive, instant gratification personality, he wouldn't let the box sit. He would want to open his Sony PlayStation prize immediately. I walked down the stairs, moving silently in my soft-soled slippers. I took a position in the first-floor hallway, standing about 10 meters from his door, holding my phone in my hand. I didn't have to wait long. At exactly 2:45 p.m., a sudden, muffled poof echoed from inside apartment 1B, followed immediately by a sharp, panicked gasp. Then came the scream. It wasn't a cool, influencer-style shout. It was a high-pitched, screeching wail of pure, sticky terror. What is this? Oh my God. No, no, no. I heard the frantic, wet slapping sounds of hands hitting walls and countertops. Derek was frantically trying to wipe the substance off. But as I knew from my lab tests, the corn syrup and glycerin matrix was highly resistant to dry wiping. The more he panicked and rubbed his hands on his face, his expensive designer hoodie, his pristine white kitchen cabinets, and his carpet, the further he smeared the ultra-fine holographic glitter. 10 seconds later, his apartment door flew open. Derek stumbled out into the common hallway, desperately trying to reach the communal bathroom down the hall, because his kitchen sink was likely already covered in purple slime. When he emerged, he looked like a broken, shimmering disco ball. The 60-degree pressurized cone had functioned flawlessly. His entire face, hair, eyebrows, and his white Balenciaga hoodie were completely coated in a thick, wet, gleaming layer of metallic nebula purple and galactic silver microglitter. Every time he blinked, tiny silver sparkles flew from his eyelashes. His hands were bright purple and dripping with the viscous, sticky syrup, leaving a trail of shimmering purple handprints along his door frame and the hallway wall. "Derek," I called out, stepping forward from the shadows of the stairwell, my phone camera active and recording in crystal-clear 4K resolution. Derek spun around, his eyes wide with sticky, glittering fury. "You!" he shrieked, his voice cracking. "You did this. My eyes are burning. My apartment is ruined. My $1,000 hoodie is destroyed." "I don't know what you're talking about, Derek," I said, keeping my face entirely blank and my voice flat. "I'm just walking down to check the lobby for my Sony PlayStation development package. Have you seen it? It was addressed to Leo, apartment 3C. You poisoned me. I'm going to sue you," he yelled, waving his sticky, purple-plated hands in the air. Just then, the elevator doors opened. 3 other tenants from the upper floors stepped out, including Mrs. Higgins, the strict, elderly president of the building's cooperative board, and David, a burly construction manager from 4B who had lost a $300 set of power tools the week before. They stopped dead in their tracks, staring at the glittering, neon-purple specter standing in the hallway. "What in God's name is going on here?" Mrs. Higgins gasped, clutching her purse. "Mrs. Higgins." "David," I said loudly, directing their attention to the trail of evidence. "It seems we have finally found our lobby pirate. As you can see, Derek is covered in the custom security marker dye from a Decoy package I placed on the lobby shelves 10 minutes ago. A package that was addressed to me." David looked at Derek's sparkling face, then looked down at the trail of shimmering purple handprints leading directly inside Derek's apartment, while my torn-open, sticky cardboard box lay face down on his expensive rug. "You little punk," David growled, taking a step toward him. "You stole my tools too, didn't you?" "No, I swear. It was just this one time." Derek lied, his purple lips trembling as a tear cut a clean, flesh-colored line down his glittering cheek. But the evidence was absolute, undeniable, and reflecting 100% of the hallway's LED lights. Derek was caught red-handed, or rather, purple-handed. Derek stood frozen in the hallway, looking like a cosmic disaster. The holographic microglitter was so fine that it caught every single photon from the building's LED ceiling lights, making his face shimmer with a brilliant, mocking purple and silver glow. I can explain, Derek stammered, his sticky hands raised defensively, but his voice lacked any of its usual influencer bravado. Explain what, Derek? Mrs. Higgins, the board president, stepped forward, her eyes icy. Explain why you're covered in the security dye of a package addressed to Leo in 3C? Or explain why there is a trail of purple slime leading directly into your apartment, where several other torn-open boxes are currently sitting on your floor. Through his open door, we could all clearly see my torn-open Decoy box, but next to it on his kitchen island sat two other recognizable boxes, one from a local kitchen supply boutique and another containing David's missing $300 power tools. David's face turned a dangerous shade of crimson. "That's my drill box," he muttered, his voice low and vibrating with anger. He took a step toward Derek's doorway. "You've been stealing from all of us. Don't touch me. I'll call the police." Derek squealed, backing away toward the communal bathroom, his shoes making wet, sticky squelch-squelch noises on the hardwood floor. "Actually, Derek, I think that is an excellent idea," I said calmly, pulling my phone out and dialing the non-emergency police dispatch line. "Let's let the police handle the documentation. As a quality assurance specialist, I always prefer a formal, third-party log of system failures." The police arrived 30 minutes later. By the time they walked into the lobby, Derek had spent half an hour in the communal bathroom trying to wash the mixture off his face. He had made a fatal error. Because the corn syrup and glycerin matrix was highly viscous, his frantic attempts to scrub his face with paper towels and cold water had only served to activate the static cling of the microglitter. The sparkling dust had migrated into his hair, his ears, his neck, and deep into the fibers of his expensive white Balenciaga hoodie. He looked like he'd been dipped in a vat of metallic purple paint. The officers didn't even need to ask who the suspect was. The trail of glittery purple handprints on the walls, the sticky purple footprints on the floor, and Derek's shimmering iridescent face told the entire story. "Well," the lead officer said, suppressing a smirk as he looked at Derek. "I've seen some caught red-handed, but this is a new one. Caught glitter-handed, because the stolen goods, including my book, David's power tools, and the kitchen boutique items, were sitting in plain view inside Derek's entryway. The officers had immediate, undeniable probable cause. They documented the scene, photographed Derek's sparkling face, took my 4K video recording as primary evidence, and escorted a highly embarrassed, shimmering Derek out of the building in handcuffs. But the police arrest was only the first phase of Derek's system audit. The real destruction came from the building's cooperative board. The very next morning, Mrs. Higgins convened an emergency meeting. Using my video evidence and the police report, the board issued a formal, unconditional eviction notice for lease violation and property damage. Under the building's bylaws, Derek had 30 days to vacate the premises. Furthermore, the board hired a professional deep cleaning service to restore the lobby, the hallway walls, and the communal bathroom, which Derek had thoroughly smeared with purple slime during his panic. The bill for the specialized steam cleaning and paint restoration came to exactly $2,400. Because the damage was directly caused by Derek's criminal activity, the board successfully sued him in small claims court to cover the cleaning fees. When Derek tried to argue that the trap was dangerous, the judge looked at the laboratory ingredients list I provided: light corn syrup, vegetable glycerin, baking yeast, and FDA-approved cosmetic glitter. "Mr. Derek," the judge said dryly, "you were essentially hit with a very sticky, shiny pancake topping. The only thing damaged here was your pride, and that was entirely self-inflicted. Case dismissed. You will pay the building association the full $2,400. 3 weeks later, I watched from my third-floor window as a moving truck pulled up to the building. Derek walked out of the lobby, carrying his last remaining cardboard boxes. The summer sun was shining brightly, and as the light hit his face and hair, tiny silver and purple sparkles still glinted in the sunlight. Despite 3 weeks of scrubbing, the microglitter had stubbornly refused to leave his pores and scalp. He was destined to shimmer for at least another month, a walking, sparkling warning sign to every neighborhood he moved into. With Derek gone, the lobby shelves returned to their peaceful, orderly state. Packages arrived, stayed on the oak shelves, and were picked up by their rightful owners. I walked downstairs to retrieve a new QA testing module that had just been delivered. As I grabbed my box from the clean oak shelf, I looked over at apartment 1B. The door was locked, the hallway was clean, and there wasn't a speck of glitter in sight. System restored. Defect resolved. I smiled, walked back to the elevator, and went home to enjoy my coffee in perfect quiet compliance. Thank you so much for tuning in to our episode of Neighborhood Justice. If you love seeing a greedy lobby pirate get turned into a walking disco ball using pure kitchen physics, make sure to smash that like button. Leave a comment below telling us what you would put inside your Decoy package. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another audit, and subscribe to the channel. Remember, keep your packages secure, respect your neighbors, and never steal from someone who understands the laws of static cling. See you in the next episode.